hit that. Well, we're now a full month into our new normal in the real estate world here in Calgary. So it's time to check in and see just how much of an effect these new measures have had on pricing, number of sales, and so much more. So be sure to hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to know, and let's get to it. Well, Calgary, as you're no doubt aware, social distancing has caused a major upheaval in the way we do business as usual here in the real estate world. First, we saw the ban of all open houses, quickly followed by recommendations to minimize any touch points, so no touching doors, lights, or anything really whenever possible. Shortly after that, we were advised to limit any paper use, so no more leaving business cards behind, no brochures left on site, and now PPE is all but mandatory. On top of all that, don't be surprised when your agent asks you a bunch of questions relating to COVID, your travel, and asks you to sign a hold harmless form as it's mandatory at this point. So, how exactly has this affected the market? Well, for this we obviously need to look at both supply and demand levels. First, let's talk about supply levels. Naturally, with concerns about COVID, it's no surprise that we saw many homeowners take their homes off the market. We saw just over 1,400 new listings in April, which is actually a pretty big drop of 54% compared to this time last year. And this actually helped bring down the overall amount of inventory, which is not a bad thing. But with a total of about 5,500-ish units still available, inventory is still high enough to push the months of supply citywide to over 9 months, which is firmly into buyer's market territory, and unsurprisingly is doing quite the bang-up job on prices. More on that in a moment. If you'd like to learn more about months of supply and exactly what constitutes a buyer or seller's market, you can actually learn more about that. We'll put the link down below. Now, looking at demand levels, unfortunately, while we are seeing a reduction in supply levels, it hasn't kept pace with the decline in sales. You may want to sit down for this, as the number of sales in Calgary has dropped by 63%. Yes, you heard that correctly, a 63% drop. We sold 1,546 properties in Calgary last April compared to only 574 properties this April. Sales activity slowed for all price ranges, but the largest declines were for homes priced over $600,000. And as you may have already pieced together, now that a greater percentage of sales are happening in the lower price ranges, the overall average price decline was more than 8%, with the hardest hit being felt on the west end. Now, prices for the average home are also trending downwards. Benchmark pricing fell by nearly 2% compared to last year. But as you know, not everything is affected equally. So let's break down the 3 different product types and you can get a better idea of how your home's value has been affected. Detached sales dropped by 63% this month compared to last year, with the largest decline being, as mentioned, over in the West District. Fortunately, the weaker demand was also met with an easing supply as new listings declined by 57%. Overall, inventories actually pulled back by about 25% compared to last year, which is great, but despite the decline in inventory, the months of supply rose to more than 8. The citywide benchmark price dropped around 1%, coming in just a hair over $479,000, but again, it's a different story for each district. So when we look at the South and Southeast districts, we can see they've been the most resilient, with pricing remaining more or less flat. However, the city center saw a price drop of over 3% in value just last month for the detached homes. Over the attached market, semi-detached and row properties recorded significant drops in both sales as well as new listings, causing inventories to pull back again by about 20%. Fewer homes on the market is of course great when we're trying to shore up prices. However, with a combined inventory of over 1,400 compared to just 138 sales, we are talking about over 10 months of supply currently. Semi-detached prices saw a citywide year-over-year drop of nearly 3%, with the city center beating the average with a 4% drop in price value. Looking at row homes, unless you're in the East District, which somehow managed to remain flat, generally speaking, prices declined by over 2% citywide. Apartment sales slowed by 62%, only 95 units sold in the month of April. That is a 62% decline over last year, and the first time we've seen fewer than 100 sales in any month since the turn of the century. And yes, I am talking about 08 in there as well. New listings also slowed, but it wasn't enough to stop the damage. With over 1,300 units for sale right now, we're looking at 14 months of supply at the moment. On the pricing front, condos were falling even before recent developments in the market, but so far, the prices of decline has remained relatively stable, which I guess is a bit of good news. Sort of. But we're still talking about an over 2% price decline compared to last April. And it's worth noting, since the first energy crisis in 2014, about 6 years ago, the citywide apartment benchmark price has declined by about 19%. Year over year, prices have declined in almost all districts on the apartment front, but the Southeast District saw the largest year over year decline at nearly 6%. So, let's look at the numbers. So what's the bottom line? Well, the economic impact of the situation is significant, and early indications point towards more job losses and higher unemployment rates. Several government incentives will help cushion the blow, but challenges remain in the housing market and are expected to persist throughout the rest of the year. My name is Michael Smith. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to always make sure to have somebody looking out for your best interests.